Listen, if you want a great relationship, you've got to face the hard truth. There are certain habits that drive men absolutely crazy, and most women don't even realize they're doing them. These aren't small quirks, they're deal breakers, and if you keep repeating them, you're sabotaging your own chances at love. Today, I'm cutting through the noise, pulling no punches, and breaking down the 7 habits men secretly find disgusting, so you can stop doing them, turn things around, and build the kind of connection you actually deserve. Constant negativity drains attraction in ways most people don't fully understand. When you're always focusing on what's wrong instead of what's right, you create an energy that's heavy, suffocating, and difficult to be around. Imagine walking into a room where the air feels tense and cold, even if no one has said a word yet. That's what negativity does in relationships. It becomes the invisible weight pulling everything down. Men don't want to come home to someone who is constantly complaining, criticizing, or finding faults in every situation. It doesn't matter how much attraction there was in the beginning, constant negativity erodes it over time until there's nothing left but resentment and distance. Think about this from a very simple perspective. Everyone has challenges. Everyone faces stress, bills, family drama, career frustrations, and personal insecurities. But when your default reaction is always to highlight the problem instead of even attempting to find solutions, it signals that you're not someone who can handle life with strength and resilience. Negativity communicates weakness, and men, just like women, crave a partner who adds strength to their lives rather than taking it away. Even little habits like rolling your eyes, sighing heavily, or making sarcastic remarks build up over time. What feels like harmless venting to you comes across as criticism and complaint to him. Negativity doesn't just show up in words, it shows up in tone, in body language, in the way you respond to his efforts. For example, maybe he plans a date night and instead of appreciating the effort, you immediately point out that the restaurant was too crowded or the food wasn't perfect. What message does that send? It tells him that no matter how hard he tries, it will never be good enough. That slowly kills his motivation to do things for you. After a while, he stops trying, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels defeated. And when a man feels defeated in a relationship, he starts emotionally checking out. Negativity is also contagious. When you focus on the worst in everything, you pull him into that same mindset. What could have been a fun, lighthearted moment turns into a discussion about everything that's wrong. Instead of creating joy and shared memories, the relationship becomes a cycle of complaints and frustrations. This doesn't just damage his attraction to you, it changes the overall tone of the relationship. What was once exciting and energizing becomes exhausting and stressful. Men don't want to spend their lives in a constant state of tension. They want peace, encouragement, and a partner who helps them recharge, not one who drains them further. Now, this doesn't mean you should suppress your feelings or pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Being honest about your emotions is important, but there's a difference between sharing your struggles and living in a constant state of negativity. The key is balance. If you're upset, express it clearly, then move towards solutions. If something is frustrating, acknowledge it, but don't let it define the whole day. Emotional maturity is attractive, and part of that maturity is the ability to choose where you put your focus. A man who feels supported, encouraged, and appreciated naturally feels closer to his partner, but a man who constantly feels criticized, drained, or dragged down by negativity begins to associate that energy with the person he's with. Over time, he withdraws physically, emotionally, and mentally. Attraction isn't just about looks, it's about how someone makes you feel. If being with you consistently feels heavy, critical, or joyless, the attraction fades no matter how beautiful or smart you are. Lack of personal hygiene is one of those things that people don't always like to talk about openly, but it makes a massive impact in relationships. Attraction is a full-spectrum experience. It's not just about how you look or what you say. It's also about how you smell, how fresh you feel to the other person, and whether your habits communicate care and self-respect. When hygiene is neglected, it sends an unspoken signal that you're either not paying attention to yourself or you don't value how your partner experiences being close to you. Men, like women, want intimacy that feels good. If being physically close to someone becomes uncomfortable because of unwashed hair, body odor, bad breath, or dirty clothes, it's going to create distance no matter how much love is present. What's important to understand is that hygiene isn't only about attractiveness on the surface, it's about deeper subconscious messages. When you take care of your body, you show discipline, pride, and self-respect. You're communicating that you value yourself enough to present your best self to the world and to the person you're in a relationship with. On the flip side, ignoring hygiene suggests laziness, lack of effort, or worse, indifference toward how your partner feels. For a man, this can quickly shift his perception of you from someone who's desirable to someone who's careless. Attraction fades when there's a disconnect between wanting closeness and being repelled by the physical experience of it. This doesn't mean you have to look like a model every day or spend hours getting ready. Men aren't looking for perfection, but they do notice consistency in the little things. Clean clothes, fresh breath, showering regularly, grooming hair, trimming nails. These details might feel small, but they add up to a massive impact. Think about it. How enjoyable is a kiss if bad breath dominates the moment? How comfortable is a hug if clothes smell like sweat that's lingered for days? These things don't just pass unnoticed. They stick in memory and can shift the entire dynamic of how much a man wants to be physically affectionate. Hygiene is also tied to confidence. When you feel fresh and clean, you naturally carry yourself differently. You're more open, you smile more, you're less self-conscious, and that energy is magnetic. Men are highly responsive to confidence, and part of that comes from how you feel in your own skin. When hygiene is neglected, even if you don't say anything, your body language reveals discomfort. You might pull back from intimacy, avoid closeness, or send signals of insecurity, which can make the relationship feel strained. It's also worth recognizing that men don't always verbalize this issue. Many will stay silent because they don't want to hurt feelings, but silence doesn't mean they don't notice. They notice, and over time it becomes a quiet reason they pull away. Instead of saying, "I'm less attracted because of hygiene," they might just start initiating intimacy less often, making excuses, or creating space. This can leave the other partner confused, thinking the issue is emotional, when in reality it's something as simple as hygiene. Hygiene is about respect for your partner too. Just as you wouldn't serve food on a dirty plate to someone you care about, the same principle applies here. Taking time to maintain hygiene communicates love and consideration. It shows you care enough to create a pleasant environment for connection, whether that's through touch, closeness, or intimacy. When this effort is missing, it feels like neglect not only of yourself but also of the relationship. Men are visual and sensory by nature, and when all the senses are engaged in a positive way, attraction grows. Fresh scent, clean skin, tidy appearance. These amplify desire and strengthen the bond. On the other hand, neglect dulls desire and builds subtle resentment. Over time, what could have been passion starts turning into avoidance. Clinginess suffocates healthy relationships because it creates an atmosphere of pressure instead of freedom. At the heart of every strong relationship is balance, the ability to be connected while also respecting each other's individuality. When one partner becomes overly dependent, constantly needing reassurance, attention, or validation, it shifts the dynamic from partnership to burden. Men, in particular, often interpret clinginess as a lack of trust, self-confidence, or emotional independence. What might feel like love or devotion to you can actually feel like control and suffocation to him, and over time it chips away at both attraction and respect. Clinginess often comes from fear, fear of losing someone, fear of not being enough, or fear of being abandoned. But ironically, the very behaviors that come from that fear are the ones that push people away. Constantly texting, needing to know where he is every moment, panicking if he doesn't respond right away, or demanding all his free time sends a message that you don't trust him or yourself. Instead of building closeness, this creates tension and distance. Men start to feel like they can't breathe in the relationship, like every move is being monitored or judged, and that suffocating feeling quickly erodes the excitement and natural attraction they once felt. It's also important to see how clinginess shifts the balance of power in unhealthy ways. Relationships thrive when both partners bring value, independence, and strength to the table. But when one partner constantly leans on the other for emotional stability, it creates an uneven dynamic. Instead of being equals, one becomes the caretaker and the other becomes the dependent. This imbalance kills attraction because men want to feel like their partner is choosing to be with them out of desire, not out of desperation or fear. They want to feel admired and respected, not like they are someone's lifeline. Another issue with clinginess is that it leaves no room for mystery or space. Attraction needs oxygen to breathe, and that oxygen is created when each person maintains their own interests, passions, and individuality outside of the relationship. If you're constantly attached to your partner, never allowing him time with friends, hobbies, or personal space, you eliminate one of the most powerful forces in attraction, longing. Missing each other is healthy. Having space to grow individually is necessary. Without it, the relationship becomes stale, predictable, and heavy. Men may start to feel resentment because they can no longer enjoy their independence without guilt or conflict. Clinginess also communicates insecurity, and insecurity is deeply unattractive. When you constantly seek reassurance, it tells him you don't believe you're enough on your own. Instead of seeing you as confident and self-assured, he sees you as someone who doubts her worth. Over time, this wears down his respect and his attraction. Confidence is magnetic because it signals stability, strength, and self-love. Clinginess signals the opposite, which is why men naturally pull away when they feel it creeping in. This doesn't mean you shouldn't show affection or want closeness. Men love attention, love being wanted, and love when their partner values the connection. The difference lies in balance. There's a world of difference between showing him you miss him and making him feel guilty for having a life outside of you. There's a difference between enjoying his company and panicking when he's not available every second. Healthy attachment strengthens a relationship because it's rooted in choice, not in fear. When you can enjoy your partner fully while also allowing space for independence, it creates respect, trust, and stronger attraction. The truth is that the most powerful relationships are formed between two whole, confident people who choose to share their lives without losing themselves in the process. When you let go of clinginess and embrace independence, you don't lose love, you actually amplify it. Because when a man feels trusted, respected, and free to be himself, he naturally wants to come closer. Disrespectful communication destroys trust faster than almost anything else in a relationship because words cut deeper than people realize. What you say and how you say it can either build intimacy or slowly tear someone down. When men feel spoken to with sarcasm, condescension, raised voices, or constant criticism, they stop feeling safe in the relationship. Safety isn't just about physical presence. It's about emotional space where a person feels valued, respected, and heard. If every conversation turns into a battlefield where words are used as weapons, it creates walls instead of connection, resentment instead of affection. Communication is the core of every relationship. It's the bridge between two people's thoughts, emotions, and needs. When disrespect enters that bridge, it cracks and weakens until the connection begins to collapse. Men, like women, are deeply sensitive to tone. They may not always admit it, but being belittled, mocked, or dismissed by someone they love cuts into their sense of worth. A partner's words carry more weight than anyone else's. What might feel like a quick jab or harmless sarcasm to you might echo in his mind for days, slowly convincing him that you don't truly value him. Over time, this erodes the foundation of trust and makes him hesitant to open up, share his feelings, or be vulnerable with you. Disrespectful communication doesn't always come in shouting or obvious insults. It often shows up in subtle, everyday moments, interrupting when he's speaking, rolling your eyes, using a sharp tone, or dismissing his perspective all communicate one thing, that what he says doesn't matter. When a man feels that his opinions or feelings are constantly minimized, he shuts down, and once a man shuts down emotionally, it's very hard to rebuild that connection because he no longer feels safe sharing his inner world. Respect in communication is about listening as much as it is about speaking. When men feel truly heard, even if you don't agree with them, they feel valued. But when every disagreement turns into an attack, every mistake becomes ammunition, and every conversation feels like walking on eggshells, they begin to associate communication with conflict rather than connection. This makes them withdraw and keep their guard up. Trust is built through consistent, respectful dialogue, but it's destroyed when conversations are laced with judgment or hostility. Another layer of disrespectful communication is the use of comparisons. Saying things like, "Why can't you be more like him?" or "Other men would never do that," chips away at a man's confidence and creates bitterness. Comparisons are a form of disrespect because they tell him he's not good enough as he is. Over time, this not only damages his self-esteem, but also poisons the bond between you. No one wants to feel like they are in constant competition in their own relationship. What men crave is encouragement, appreciation, and the sense that their efforts matter. When communication consistently does the opposite, they pull back emotionally and physically. The way conflict is handled also reveals the health of communication. Every relationship has disagreements, but if those disagreements consistently turn into shouting matches, name calling, or stonewalling, it destroys trust. Men may forgive occasional outbursts, but consistent disrespect signals that the relationship isn't a safe place. Once that sense of safety is gone, trust is nearly impossible to maintain because he will always be bracing for the next attack. Respectful communication isn't about agreeing all the time, it's about disagreeing with kindness. It's about expressing frustration without tearing the other person down. When men feel respected in the way they're spoken to, even in moments of conflict, they remain engaged and connected. But when disrespect becomes the norm, the relationship slowly dies because trust has no soil left to grow in. Ignoring self, growth weakens long-term connection because relationships thrive when both people are evolving, not when one person stays stagnant. In the beginning of a relationship, attraction might be fueled by chemistry, excitement, and novelty. But over time, what sustains that bond is the sense that you're growing together, challenging each other, and becoming better versions of yourselves. When a partner shows no interest in personal development, whether that's emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually, it sends the message that they're not invested in progress. Men, like women, are drawn to partners who inspire them, not ones who make them feel like life is stuck in neutral. Self-growth doesn't just mean career advancement or chasing big goals. It shows up in daily habits, attitudes, and choices. It's about wanting to improve communication, working on emotional intelligence, maintaining health, developing new skills, or simply striving to be more present and supportive in the relationship. When this drive is missing, the relationship starts to feel heavy. Men don't want to feel like they are dragging someone along or carrying all the weight of forward movement. They want a partner who is standing beside them, equally invested in building a future. If one person grows and the other refuses to, a gap forms between them. That gap widens over time until attraction and connection start to fade. Ignoring self, growth also communicates complacency, and complacency is the enemy of attraction. In the early stages of love, people often put their best selves forward. taking care of appearance, making effort in conversations, being curious about each other. But when someone stops growing, they often stop trying. That shift is felt deeply because the energy of progress is replaced with stagnation. Men notice when their partner no longer pursues passions, loses motivation, or shows no interest in becoming better. Instead of feeling inspired, they start feeling weighed down, as though they're living in a cycle that never moves forward. Another problem with ignoring self-growth is that it puts too much pressure on the relationship itself. If you're not working on yourself, it becomes easy to expect your partner to fill every gap, providing validation, excitement, direction, or purpose. That's an impossible expectation to meet, and it quickly leads to frustration on both sides. Men want to feel like their partner brings her own energy, her own passions, her own spark to the relationship. When self-growth is neglected, that spark dims, and the man may begin to feel like he's losing the woman he was initially drawn to. Self-growth also builds confidence, and confidence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. When you're pursuing goals, learning, and challenging yourself, you radiate energy that's magnetic. Men are drawn to that energy because it shows independence and strength, but when growth is ignored, insecurity often grows in its place. That insecurity can lead to jealousy, resentment, or constant need for reassurance, which weakens the bond instead of strengthening it. A partner who is actively growing feels secure within themselves, and that security allows the relationship to flourish without unnecessary drama or tension. It's also worth noting that long-term love requires renewal. Just as individuals evolve, relationships need fresh energy to stay alive. When both partners are focused on growth, they bring new experiences, perspectives, and excitement to the relationship. But when one partner stays stagnant, the relationship risks becoming repetitive and uninspiring. Men want to feel proud of their partner, to see her striving, achieving, and becoming more. That pride translates into deeper respect and attraction. Without growth, that pride fades, and with it, so does the emotional intensity that keeps love strong. At the core, ignoring self-growth signals a lack of vision. Men respect and are attracted to women who know where they're going, even if the path isn't perfect. Vision creates momentum, and momentum creates attraction. When growth is ignored, the relationship drifts, and drifting eventually leads to disconnection. By continually investing in yourself, you not only strengthen who you are, but also strengthen the bond with your partner, because he sees that you're committed to building a better future together.